What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Day Sniper Podcast. I am Caylen Wojcik, your host, and in this episode, I'm bringing on board a good buddy of mine by the name of Luke Carrick. So Luke is a professional hunting guide, and he does a lot of sheep hunts up in British Columbia, and he's also an adventure photographer. So I'm going to let the episode kind of speak for that. Luke's going to talk to you guys about his background and just kind of give you guys an opportunity to get to know Luke a little bit better, because we're going to be bringing him back on the show to talk about all things hunting and whatever information and tidbits that he'd like to share with you guys, because I think it is directly applicable because of all the things that he's seen as a professional hunting guide over the years. He's got a tremendous amount of experience. He's one of my hunting mentors and largely taught me what I know about Western hunting here in Washington. I won't steal too much of the thunder for the rest of the episode, but before we get there, make sure that you guys cruise over to moderndaysniper.com and check out all of our in-person classes that we have coming up for 2025. And we're going to be starting to post stuff for 2026 already as well. So if you're looking to train with us, make sure you check the website out, look under the events tab and see where we're going to be. Chances are we're going to be pretty close to you. On the other side of that, if you're looking for online training, look no further than moderndayRifleman.com, where you're going to find the largest growing community of precision shooters on the internet. And it's a really different place. It's not anything like you're going to find in a Facebook group or another forum someplace else. If you haven't been over there to check it out yet, I'd strongly encourage you to cruise over to moderndayRifleman.com again and see what we got going on over there. There's about 10,000 people in there that are exchanging information, and they're just specifically focused on becoming better shooters. There's no nonsense, there's no trolls, there's no memes, there's no drama. It's just people that are really really focused on improving themselves and helping other people improve as well. So check it out. We got all kinds of stuff. That's where we have our master classes at, and our obviously our online community. A bunch of articles, tons of information. Most of it's free. And if you're really interested in up-leveling your skills, there's always our monthly subscription service called Modern Day Rifleman Advantage. And then we have a specific subscription service just for our professional snipers out there, which is called Modern Day Sniper Pro. You can find all the information where that is at moderndayRifleman.com. So that's the spiel. Without any further ado, let's get into the episode with Luke. You guys get a chance to get to know him a little bit. Let us know what you think of the episode, and we'll see you next time. So go listen, watch, however you're going to do it. Happy to have you here. This is cool.
Yeah.
Like, feels weird.
A couple bros hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this has been like a project that has been like never ending. It always seems like you look at it and you're like, I want to try to do something different, or I want to try a different lighting or something. And then it's like a never ending quest.
Sure.
You know that from taking pictures and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been talking about doing this podcast right here for a couple, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
You've asked me many times.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's just
life's busy.
Life is freaking busy. It's just, it's like people use that, I think, as an excuse sometimes, and or just to say, oh yeah, I'm busy. It's like a buzzword. But are you really busy, or are you managing your time well? Right. Or are you just kind of screwing off and, kind of floating about trying to do things?
Sure.
And you can certainly be busy with just doing nothing, of course.
Life, family.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
for
man.
Sure.
So I'm super pumped to have you here, man. It's been a long time, like we said. Mm-hmm. And I already took care of a little bit of this in the intro, but just a little background. I just want to introduce you to all of our audience, like who Luke is, where you come from, where you grew up, and your background in hunting. And, you've basically taught me everything I know about backcountry hunting here in the West. And I was super fortunate enough to be able to learn from you as soon as I got here. And it's been 20 years.
Oh, yeah. That's
great.
Wild. That's crazy.
Right. It's been 20 years. And so lots of adventures, lots of really cool experiences. And,
for sure,
you got a tremendous amount of knowledge that I know that all of our listeners would want to hear from and learn from. And so just spill your guts, man. Talk to us about who Luke is.
Man, so much. I'm getting old. Just turned 49.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot
Cass had her 50th.
Oh, really? That was
Yeah,
50.
that was her 50th.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Next year, big one.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I mean, so much to talk about. There's growing up as a young man, just like you know, loving the outdoors, and the family tradition was big family camps and hunting all over, and hanging out with grandma and grandpas and aunts and uncles, and started young, 9, 10, 11 years old, and just raised in the outdoors like that is just, I think it's definitely built in your bones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not for everybody,
Sure.
but when you have it, and it never goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly how I feel. And I try to explain that to people all the time. And some people just don't understand what we do.
Yeah.
I think we're crazy most of the time. But so got my first rifle and started shooting grouse and hanging out and the family. And then I think I got my first big game rifle at 13.
Yeah.
I killed my first big game at 13. Just took off after that. Got tired of kind of seeing people even at a young age. And so switched over to archery real early, 16 years old. And then at 17, threw on the backpack for the first time, the big aluminum frame, a can of chili, a couple granola bars, and sleep under the stars and disappear with a fishing pole. So I did start doing that at a young age. And still today, my mom and dad asked me how I became of that. They didn't teach me any backcountry stuff or to be solo or nothing. It was all big family stuff. And I just love to get away, not see anybody.
Yeah.
And so that just, from age of 17 on, it's kind of like a live and learn.
Yeah.
All the process, all the pain and the equipment, how many thousands of dollars of equipment had gone through because you didn't like this one, this didn't work. And
Yep.
and now, of course, the last 10, 15 years, you probably stick with the same thing every single trip because you've come to know what you like and what works for you.
Or like super close. It's like a little tweak here and there, but largely it's the same stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
I think the big separator is that you grew up with it, right? You grew up with a family that went up and had big camps and, the big family wall tent camps. And like you said, that they'd go up for like 2-3 months.
Right.
You set it up and that's something that, I had as a young man growing up, but everybody had a camp. Everybody had a piece of property because there's not a whole lot of public land. I mean, there's public land, but it doesn't have access like we have access here where you can drive up a logging road and say, I'm going to commandeer this pullout for the next 3 months, That doesn't really happen where I grew up. And so it's like usually like a cabin or a camp trailer or something that people put on the property and like, hey, this is, like Bill Joseph, like that's his deer hunting camp.
Sure.
Now he's got a big cabin and it's more, it's more established as like, it's literally a home. Like he'll go up there and live for 6 months and he just, spends his time there. So the difference was that me as a young man, or a young boy, I was like searching. I didn't have anyone to show me those ropes up until Bill came along. Whereas like this was a family affair for you. You literally grew up with it.
Yep.
So you made your first trips up there, I'm sure, as like, as a baby.
Oh yeah. Tiny. Yeah.
And just you're just living at deer camp or elk camp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crawling around the pine needles and building forts and
that is different. And I didn't start getting into that until I was like 12 or 13. But then it was like a very small portion of time though. It was like you'd go hunt 2 or 3 times a year for 5 days at a time. You go down to camp and you'd spend 5 days and then you'd hunt or you'd spend, cause we had an archery season and then we had a gun season, and our seasons in New York were, I grew up hunting with a shotgun, right? Blasting deer with a 12 gauge, just this massive hunk of lead and, 50-yard shots and stuff like that. So super close. Yeah. And I forgot what like that appreciation was. And I went back and hunted there this year. And I remember sitting in my tree stand and I'm only like, I don't know, 10 feet off the ground. And there's a giant thicket to my left and I'm just doing my scan. And then I scan over and then like out of nowhere, there's this little tiny the basket buck and he's just chewing on eating acorns. I can hear him chewing acorns. He's that close. Right. And so I forget because here it's so different where we hunt. It's like hundreds of yards maybe.
Yeah.
Or you have something like chase where it's like, he stands up and he's right
right
there.
in
Like,
front of you.
that can happen, but
Sure.
it's more often that it's a long ways away.
Yeah,
And
we get excited when it's 600 yards now.
yeah. You're just like, oh, thank God I can shoot. Yeah. It's not like 900 or, 1,500 yards away.
Right.
So very different. But like you said, man, once that is set, it's like an infection
It is.
and it doesn't leave.
No.
Yeah. So
It's like medicine.
yeah.
It's like you do your normal 8 to 5, which ours isn't normal compared to most people, but you do your home life and all that for days on end and days on end, and then you can tell there's a point you get to where like I need some mountain time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It might not be where like normal people they go up and build a fire and sit around a fire. Ours is more like you throw on a backpack and you torture yourself for 3 days. Put on a lot of miles and shed hunting, whatever you're doing. But it seems like your body needs that.
Yeah,
it's like you thrive on it.
It's how you feel alive.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
for sure.
It's super. It's like as I get older, it's emotional too, because I look at bringing my sons and my stepson and my son, they're hungry for it.
Yeah.
Because they weren't exposed to it either,
Right.
and they're like, let's do this. Like
Sure.
I want to do this, and they're like, man, that was hard.
Yeah,
that was hard.
Yeah.
And you're just. Yeah, but guess what? It gets harder. It just gets harder.
Yeah.
The more desire you have, the deeper you're going to push, or the farther you're going to push yourself. And there's a lot of people that shy away from that, and they're afraid because they don't want to go that deep, or they don't
Right.
want to push that far, because they're afraid of, am I going to be able to make it out of here? But it's a constant goal to see what your limitations are,
For sure.
and so
Even at our age,
yeah,
you get older and older, and you still push yourself just as hard as I pushed myself as my 20s.
absolutely. Yeah, because you don't know what's over that next ridge.
No.
You don't know what's in that next basin.
No,
So
you got to do it as long as you can because you never know, man.
yeah, and then those pack animals start to look more and more and more desirable
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, those mules help out on those elk for sure.
I can only yeah. It's well, you've done your fair share of that stuff with just a backpack. So you've lived here in Yakima your whole life.
Full life.
You're
Yep.
so you've hunted this area and all throughout Washington State, and quite a bit of the area, and you've got your areas that you gravitate towards. But I think the thing that's different is that much like my young hunting mentor, there's certain people who have it, and there's certain people who strive for it, and they're kind of just on the cusp of it. And that's the sense, the sense of finding animals, knowing what they're going to do, immersing yourself in their habitat,
Yep.
learning the animal itself, like not just animals in general, but I want to learn about mule deer. Like,
Right.
what do mule deer do? What are their habits? How do they work? And those are the things that I learned from you as I learned how to hunt in the West. And that was a huge shift. Like, that was because the whole time that you were developing your skills as a young man, we're not that far off. You just turned 49. So we're like 4 years apart. The whole time I was in the Marine Corps, you were cultivating those skills in these mountains
Big
as a
time, yeah.
hunter, right? So I had this 8-year gap in skills that, I came here in 2005. And so I didn't do any hunting because just there was no opportunity to.
For sure, yeah.
There's really big blacktail bucks on Camp Pendleton, but there's just not a whole lot of time. And the training cycles were just like over and over and over again. So I suppose I probably could have done it as a teacher at sniper school, but even then you're just young, and I was too hungry to go focus on that job.
Yeah.
And so hunting kind of took a back seat. But it was also the lifestyle. I'm in Southern California.
Right.
So
Yeah. Way different.
way different.
Yeah.
So you're doing all this stuff throughout the mid 90s into the early 2000s. And when did you really start really pushing into the backcountry and being on those solo trips or like onesies and twosies?
Yeah, I started very young. I mean, like I said, I picked it up at 17, and after that, it continued nonstop. I would, do multiple fishing trips. I had a couple older gentlemen that same like your buddy that coached me in elk hunting and horsemanship, and so, learning from those guys and spent a lot of time in the backcountry with those guys on horses and, learning how to call the elk and learn the elk from older gentlemen that were, 20, 30 years older.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely helped me a lot. I mean, that's where I spent most of my time was a couple older gentlemen like that.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got, the skills, you always live and learn for sure. I'd go back there and multiple times I had to sleep under the stars or, you got turned around a little bit, that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of failures to become what we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just disappearing like that and getting away, it was just your success rates went up so much.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a lot more animals, a lot less people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just learning to navigate, learning trails and tracks and where to glass from. And it's all just spending the time in there.
Putting your time in.
That's a lot of time.
Yep.
And we do it. We miles and miles and miles and miles on our backs and, with our backpacks and putting the miles on the boots, and it just pays off.
Yeah, it does.
You sit there and, maybe you drew that one tag, and so now you want to focus on it. You're going to spend, hours and miles looking for that one animal.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that helps you learn the terrain, different glassing spots, to learn different animals and how they move. And so, it's all been just a huge learning curve from a very, very young age,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all just because I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main part is, man, it's once it's in you for sure.
Yeah. I think that life as I get older, like you look at life, and life is largely about suffering. Life is largely about suffering, whether it be through physical challenges, whether it be through mental challenges of, oh, this didn't go the way that I wanted it to go at work, or I have a personality conflict with someone that needs to be resolved, or, those things, that's suffering, right? And so, or loss, experiencing loss in your family. Like we go through these like ups and downs, and hunting is one of those emotional roller coasters that just never freaking stops. It's like one of the most profound trips that I've had was one in the Blues, when it was like you were going to come in and hunt, but then something came up, and then you weren't going to be able to come in until the late rifle tag. And it was just me. And I was in there for like 9 days, and it was terrible weather. It was brutal, and I was completely by myself, didn't talk to anyone, and I wasn't seeing animals. The weather was terrible, raining and snowing just about every day, windy, typical.
Right. Thinking, what am I doing?
Yeah. What am I doing? And I was going through a divorce at the time. And so like the emotional aspect of it was just, but it was everything that I needed at that point in time in my life to go through that shit and just suffer.
Right.
Just absolutely suffer mentally, going, what the fuck am I doing here right now? I know I should be hunting, but I have all this other shit on my mind.
Right.
And I've been watching this hillside for 2 days now, and I haven't seen anything. Should I be over here? Should I be over there? And it's all of these mental gymnastics and emotional gymnastics, but it teaches you so much about patience. It teaches you so much about resilience and mental fortitude. And,
right.
And it's like you said, it's medicine.
Yeah.
It literally is medicine.
Yep.
And looking at it from that point of view, even my wife, she's just like, that is your medicine.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
And not everybody resonates with that. Like her medicine is different.
Oh yeah.
She does different things.
Yeah.
And so, the ability, I think, just to block everything out, and the weather, the conditions, whatever it is, and stay focused on picking apart the hillside one more time, picking apart the hillside one more time. Got to do it one more time. That was one thing that Bill always used to teach me. He's like, don't ever let me catch you getting out of your tree stand if you can still see your pins.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And he would chew my ass. He would just like, I got to the cabin once, and I was freezing my ass off, and it was mid-morning, and it was colder than shit. and I hear the steps come up, the footprints come up the steps. And it was like, I remember it as the door getting kicked open and he's standing there. He's like, "You shoot a deer yet?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "You going to shoot one in here?" And
Yeah,
I'm
what are you
like,
doing?
"No, no." "Well, then get your ass back out there," type thing. And I'm like, "Okay." And like a day later, I shot a deer. So
Right.
it was those lessons learned, that, gave me the fortitude to be able to persevere through that stuff. And I think it's just all perseverance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brief interruption here before we get to the show, or maybe you're watching the show right now. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you guys about some of our upcoming in-person classes that we've got here at Modern Day Sniper for 2025. So the first round of classes that I want to talk to you guys about, and we have a couple of slots left over, and you're going to want to make sure that if there's any training class that you want to come out to and shoot with us for a few days, take a look at our Nail Spring Ranch venue. It is truly world class with both lodging, the food that you're going to eat, as well as the ranges that we're going to shoot on. Located in Bonanza, Oregon, in the vicinity of Klamath Falls, the amount of effort that the Nail Spring Ranch has put into this place is nothing short of fantastic. And you're going to have an awesome all-inclusive experience with us down there. All of your meals and lodging is taken care of with the total cost of the course. And for what you get, you simply can't beat it from a cost standpoint. You're going to be eating 5-star meals, staying in 5-star accommodations. And like I said, shooting on a world-class facility in Southern Oregon, where it's going to be challenging conditions for both our introductory level students and our skills clinic students in the month of July. And then we're going to be back there in October for another intro class and then a hunting skills clinic. So that'll be a great opportunity for you guys to come out and train with us if that's kind of your jam of that all-inclusive experience. And at the end of the days, you don't have to drive anywhere. You can just wrap up your day after dinner, and everybody's just going to have a chance to have some fellowship and have some good conversations. There's all kinds of things to do at the ranch. And if you're lucky, the owner will take you up in his airplane and give you a bird's eye view of all of the local area. So we got Nail Spring Ranch. And then in November, we have our Pig River venue. We absolutely love going there. I love training at Pig River. It's a fantastic place to shoot. Josh Bandy is awesome at making sure that everybody has a great time there with his facility. So something that we're going to change up this year at Pig River, we're trying to make our classes more of an experience for our customers and our shooters. Not necessarily just your run of the mill, hey, we're going to show up and we're going to shoot and then everybody's going to go do their own thing. This year, we're going to have that event for both our intro class and our skills progression class. We're going to have that catered for both breakfast and lunch. And we're also going to have one evening of each of those classes where we're going to have dinner cooked out at the range catered as well. And it's going to be more along the lines of, fellowship and community and getting everybody together at the end of the day to talk about whatever it is they want to talk about. The catering is going to be second to none. The food that we're using is all home cooked and it's fantastic. On the plus side of that, if you are a United States Marine, we're going to be at Pig River for the United States Marine Corps 250th birthday. And that's a big deal for us. And so while we're there, we're also going to be celebrating the Marine Corps birthday, and we're going to have our traditional cake cutting ceremony and reading of General John A. Lejeune's birthday message, as well as the message from the Commandant. If you are a United States Marine and you want to come out and train with us, or you're already enrolled in the course, we're going to have those shenanigans happening for our birthday on November 10th. So we hope to see you guys down at Pig River. We got some slots left for that class as well, or those two classes. So make sure if you're on the East Coast, come see us. It's a great place to shoot, challenging venue, and it's always a good time. So the third round of classes that I want to talk to you guys about is our classes down in Arizona, in Maricopa County at the Flying Bucket with Dylan Arrow. Another fantastic place to shoot, and it's a great venue in Arizona, and Arizona is not a bad place to be in the first couple weeks of December. So if you're in the southwest of the United States and you're looking to train with Modern Day Sniper, check us out. You can find all of these classes at our website at moderndaysniper.com on the events tab, and make sure you check out what we have, because most likely we're in your area. And if you want to come shoot with us and have a good time, have at it. So without further ado, let's get back to the episode. So as you like, we came and we met together at Brandon's bow shop.
Yep.
Down at
Shooting indoor leagues.
What was it called?
AS&J.
AS&J Archery. Yep. That's right. Yeah, shooting leagues. And I was just trying to, I was completely new to the community. I'd only come up here to Yakima to visit a few times, and looking for community, looking for people, to learn from. And, if that happens, it happens. And the first couple seasons I hunted up in Tampico where, Jim's cabin was up there. And that was just like, at that point in time, I thought I was getting away, but I was not even remotely close to getting away.
Right.
But for my world and where I grew up hunting, that was the way it was. Like you'd walk 400 or 500 yards from your cabin or your camp, and you'd sit in a tree stand and you'd wait. Right. And that's how I grew up hunting. So that was like, oh, okay, well I must be able to do some kind of the same thing here.
Right.
But the density of animals was just nowhere close. It was just not enough density of animals. And I saw animals up there, but nothing like, I just saw more people than I saw animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was, and then meeting you, I think, our first trip together was going up, with JD on that fishing trip.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was our first backpack
Ball
trip
buster.
together. Yeah, it was a ball buster. We hiked through, it was post hauling through snow.
Yeah.
And that was the point at which I was like, oh dude, I know what this feels like.
This is cool.
I like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is good shit. And I remember I was eating out of MREs. I didn't bring a tent, just my bivy sack and
Tons
stuff.
of snow.
And I was like, well, okay, I don't have to carry batteries. I don't have to carry, another 40 pounds of ammunition.
Right.
This is kind of a pleasure trip.
Yeah.
And seeing we saw a ton of animals that trip. We saw a bear, we saw a bunch of elk, we saw mountain goats, we saw deer, and we caught a shitload of fish.
Tons
and so
of fish.
I was like, man, this is it. And then that was done, gone. This is the way that I want to hunt.
Yep.
Right. And so that's the way it's been ever since.
Ever since. Yeah. Want to touch land nobody's touched before.
Exactly. And that's getting so hard to find these days.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, you doing your stuff up in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Man, that's got to just be like food for the soul.
For sure.
I mean, you're just like that open expanse of just nothingness.
Yeah. Deep, ride a horse for 3 or 4 days to get to one mountain. It's in there. It's in there.
Like, so a day on horse is how many miles you suspect?
I don't
Average because I know you got swamps and shit you got to deal with and all that stuff.
I mean, if you're on the horse for 8 to 10 hours, it's good 16, 20 miles.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in there.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And it does with all the swamps and water crossings and log jams and this and that. It just adds more time. But yeah, it's always rough and rugged.
So you did, we started working together in our backcountry hunter course. We started teaching that together. And that came from sitting on a mountainside going, I bet you there's a bunch of people that like to learn how to do this. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was really awesome from the standpoint of getting people to see what it was that they were capable of. Getting grown ass men to see what they were capable of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also watching grown ass men quit.
Yeah.
A quarter of a mile from the truck.
Yeah.
Just looking at where they had to go and going, yeah, no, man, this isn't for me.
Right.
And so, that I witnessed a lot of that stuff in the military, doing, being part of selection processes and stuff and putting people through their paces that they might not have necessarily thought or expected that it was going to be like that.
Right.
And so that is usually the shock and awe that you want to weed that stuff out. You want to get rid of that shit because I want to know that you're not going to quit.
Right.
And that's my mentality with pretty much everything, sometimes to a fault, where I'm just like, I'm not going to fucking quit.
Not giving up.
I'm just not going to give up. Even if it's stupid, even if it's stupid to not give up, I'm not going to give up.
Right.
So that has to be managed. But once we did the backcountry hunter course, we did that. Well, we ran like 4 or 5 of them, right? It's like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Was it 5 years, 6 years?
I think it was 5. Yeah. Something like that. It was either 5 or 6 years, but then you got an opportunity to go do something really awesome, which was go guide sheep.
Right.
And that's kind of like the pinnacle of, would you say that's the pinnacle of your career?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Going up and, looking for those stone sheep like I have been, that's just, to me, it feels like once in a lifetime, be able to go in solo, just get dumped off and then say, go find the sheep, live on your own with the grizzlies and go locate these suckers.
Mm-hmm.
Stones just live in such nasty, dark timber, rugged country. It's rough stuff. Not a lot of country pushes me to my limits, but that BC definitely it's right there. It's so rugged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking at the pictures of it,
Yeah,
and you can tell that
it's insane.
You getting up there, you got to want it.
It's always a big climb, always hours of climb, always looking for water. You get definitely like we do. You got to do your research prior.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at your maps constantly. Luckily, up there we do get to use the Cub,
Mm-hmm.
fly around a lot, and that's what I look for is water and trails and
Right.
stuff for me. He's looking for sheep, but I'm just looking for stuff to survive on my side.
Right.
So it's lucky you get to fly a little bit, but mainly it's looking at the maps and figuring out where you're going to go and do. But yeah, it's some big brutal country.
That's
Nobody
really
touches.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
And just to be back there, you've gone as many as 25 days?
28. It's my longest.
28 is your longest.
Yeah.
And that's a testament, man, from a standpoint of just psychologically,
Right.
like not having contact with humans, being by yourself. Like if it's one thing that I learned from, that 9 days, that's the longest I've done is 9 days. And that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think everybody needs to experience that.
Oh yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And even in the Boy Scouts on a very small level, because little Luke's in Boy Scouts,
Mm-hmm.
and he's working towards his Eagle Scout badge, and he's part of their, and I might be getting this wrong, so if you guys are Eagle Scouts out there, just lay off, okay? I wasn't a Boy Scout, but they got to go out and they got to be by themselves, and they got to do it, and it's like a rite of passage.
That's great.
And I think that's fantastic, because looking at the younger generation and we don't have a rite of passage anymore.
Right.
And it's really a rite of passage that does occur, could have occurred in like your family, right? Where you're constantly in those situations, and your mom or dad would have been like, yeah, he's not back yet, and it's starting to storm, and he's going to be just fine, because I have faith in his abilities and his ability to make good decisions.
Right.
But it's going to suck.
Yeah.
And he's going to remember that. Right.
Yeah.
And that's that rite of passage where you're just like, you as young Luke, you look at that and you're just like, I really fucked up. I made some really bad choices, but you will get through it. You will survive it.
Yeah.
And there's that, it's like that rite of passage that used to be something that was very important to culture, very important to society, especially for young men. And they don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, unless you talk to people that want to get into hunting, it's almost an insurmountable task, right? You don't, like, number one, look at how much information is out there.
Yeah.
The information is out there, but it's so
sure.
overwhelming. You just don't even know where to start. And then you go, okay, well, how am I going to do this? And unless you have a mentor or somebody there to guide you, man, it's going to be a really rough go.
Yep.
And it's going to take years and years. But like, somebody could find an individual. It's like fly fishing, right? If you want to learn a river, you do a guided trip and you learn the river.
Right.
You see what flies are pitching, you see what is happening on the river, and you learn it. And fine, great. That's exactly what that is for. And then you can go on your own and do that.
Yep.
And hunting is relatively the same way, but yeah, you'd have to have a guide.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like nowadays it's definitely where a young kid is not going to venture out on his own anymore. Maybe, but it seems like you need to have that family to kind of push you towards that, or take you to the mountains, so you kind of grow up in that.
Yep.
But it just doesn't seem like kids are into it as much as like we were anymore.
Yeah, because that was all I wanted.
Yeah.
It was all I was like, get me out of here. Yeah. I want to go shoot birds in the backyard with a 22.
Exactly.
Period.
Yep. Build forts.
Don't care.
Just do whatever. Yeah. Be in the dirt. Yep.
I think, I don't know about you, but one of the things that I kind of feel like I'm seeing more with the age of the internet and all the gear, and the ability to navigate now with a cell phone, constant GPS access, I think that definitely opens up the floodgates to more people. And that could be a good thing. And it can also be not a good thing, depending on, what areas are being saturated with folks and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on that? And like educating people, like I've had a lot of people send me messages and be like, I really wish you wouldn't do the backcountry hunter course.
Really?
Yeah. Because people are just like, I don't want more people in the woods. I don't want more people in the mountains. Yeah. And I kind of look at that, like, just like you're just kind of like, how do I feel about that?
Yeah. I don't agree.
Yeah. What do you like? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I spend enough time back there. I don't see any difference. I don't see people, I don't know if it's where we go or what I'm doing different, but you might see that occasional person at a trailhead that's a mile or so in, but beyond that, where we go, there's not a lot of people, and that's why I continue to go there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's, BC or Nevada or Arizona or Washington. It just seems like the same. When I get as far as I go and where I want to go, I've never seen a soul. I have a spot that I hunt in Arizona. I've hunted there 5 times. I've spent over 120 days in that unit, never seen one hunter. You just get back as deep as you think you need to go, and nobody's ever there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it seems like when you look at the internet and all the social media stuff, it seems like a lot of people are hunting and doing the backcountry thing. But then once you get out there on your own, we pull up to our trailheads, and a lot of times there's nobody there.
True. Or maybe it's a pickup or two.
Yeah. And so it doesn't seem to be getting overwhelmed at all to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that, if anything, if that's something that people are seeing, well, it's like, hey man, you gotta push harder, you gotta push deeper, and you gotta go.
Yeah.
And so I've had mixed feelings about it too. And I don't know really, I try not to be an always never type of guy when it comes to stuff like that, because perspectives change, life experience will, you could have an experience and you're just like, okay, yeah, no, I need to change my perspective on that. So like this past season, I saw a guy, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm up here, got this basin to myself. And at 7:30 in the morning, here comes Honcho just charging right through the bottom of it. And I'm just like, at first I got super upset.
Yeah.
But then I started to look around at the country, and I was just watching how this guy was hunting, and he just didn't understand. Like he was up there, he was putting in the effort, he was putting in the work, he was crushing it out. He just hadn't had someone say, do this, don't do that. And if you're going to do this, make sure you do it this way.
Right.
And all of those tiny little lessons that are learned through failure, or having somebody help you and say, hey, yeah, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to do it this way. And this is why. And so, the guy was cruising along, and 6 hours later he comes back and ended up, he side hilled. I watched him side hill around, and I was like, man, if he stays on this contour, he's going to run right into me. And that's exactly what happened. He was like 50 feet below me, and I whistled to him. And man, all I saw from this guy was just a giant smile. He was probably in his mid-20s.
He was loving it.
Just loving it. Yeah. And I was like, dude, where'd you come from? Because I have no idea how you got here, and I want to know. Yeah. So, and the country I'm talking about. Yeah. And it's like, that is no country for old men. Like that is savage shit up there.
It is.
And this dude was just motoring, just trucking.
But walking right through the main hunting spot.
Yeah. And I was just like, hey, can I offer you some advice? And he was like, please, I really don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, don't do that. Like, whatever you do, don't do that. I'm like, you got the guts, you got the physical capability, you got the equipment. I don't know what your shooting skills are, but do it this way next time. Right, and he was just like, okay, yeah. Cause I was only up here for a couple of days and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I'm super pumped for you. Yeah. And that was him getting his medicine, so like how that sucks if you want to just like bogart it and take it away from people, especially when you know how important it is to you. Yeah. And so, Yeah, I guess I got mixed feelings on that one.
Yeah.
I can see both perspectives.
Sure. Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but
probably
yeah,
where you're going to. Certain areas have
sure.
more population or
Mhm.
whatever, it definitely makes a huge difference. You pull up the trailhead, might be 10 or 20 trucks,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to make sure I go
Yeah.
really far.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Or into really nasty shit that
Yeah.
nobody else is going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that from you, like big time. It's like, hey, if you could be in an area where there are a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
but if you analyze what is going to happen and use the pressure to your advantage, you can find animals,
Sure.
and you're going to. And I've been successful that way. And so, but again, it's you're just not going to go up there and have it just happen.
Yeah.
You really got to put your time in and sit there
Sure.
and go, I've been like not see an animal for 8 days.
Yep.
And still get up in the morning
Yep.
when it's freaking 15 degrees outside and it's windy as shit and
Yeah.
still go do it again.
Do it again.
Yeah. So
Hard sometimes.
so some of the adventures we've been on so many adventures.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty crazy.
Killer ones.
Really, really memorable ones. And like all the manners of it. Type 1 fun, type 2 fun, and type 3 fun.
Oh yeah.
And so going through all of that stuff and the backcountry hunter courses and some really memorable trips and you guiding and life happens, we kind of lost connection for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I was building a business.
Yep. Well, we both quit.
We both quit at the
our
same time,
jobs,
pretty much the same time.
Big careers.
Yeah.
My state job, 20 years. And
Yeah. Yeah. Tell people what you were doing for that.
so, yeah, just working the 8 to 5 wasn't really working for me. I had my 20 years with the state, Washington State, and I'd been guiding for 15 years. I had lots of experience in backcountry hunting and all kinds of stuff. Taught the class, and I actually went because I work with Proof Research, and I did a photo shoot with Proof.
Oh, I remember that.
In Kalispell. And so when I went there, I spent 8 days just being the Proof model, the guy throwing on the backpack horns, crossing the river, doing all that, and getting my photo taken. Well, Berto
Yeah.
from California,
Yeah. Yeah.
one day, our photographer, he just threw me the camera and said, "Hey, Luke, take a couple photos today." I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I snapped some photos. So that night, we're back at the lodge and drinking some beers, and he's like, "Luke, you got the eye. I checked through your photos, and you have to have a little eye, to get the right composition stuff on your photos." And he's like, "You should just pick up a camera, and take it around the mountains with you. Go a lot of cool places." And so I did. Just started picking up a little tiny camera, and I do a elk or deer hunt or bear hunt or whatever, capture a few photos, and it just kind of caught on from there.
Yeah.
And so when I was working with the state, going on many hunts as I could, and then kind of picking up the photography, I asked the wife, I said, "Hey, I got to my 20 years in. What do you think about me just retiring with my 20 and starting my own business and chasing my dream?" She's like, "Go for it." And I remember us talking about it. You're wanting to do the exact same thing, start your own business. And so it just happened. I got my 20 years and I started a handyman business. So that way, it kept me afloat there, but then also a lot of guiding and a lot of photography, and it all kind of just snowballed. And it's been 10 years, 8 years,
Yeah. Really close.
something like that.
I bailed from Magpul in summer of 17.
17. Yeah. So I was just before that, like 6 months before that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been an ongoing thing. First I had to rely on the handyman quite a bit, but then this photography thing I've been doing about the last 8 years have really taken off.
Yeah.
And so I haven't done any handyman in 3 years now, and now I'm just doing the photography thing. So
That's so badass, man.
yeah,
That's-
just,
I love seeing my homies succeed, because being in this world and trying to drive on your own, and make your way, it's difficult. It ain't easy. And so the ideas are the easy part.
yeah,
It's so easy to have an idea,
yeah,
but then to be able to take that idea and to bring it to fruition, and then be able to, look at your family and say, I have the means, like this dream that I'm chasing, I have the means now to develop it into something not only meaningful for you, but supportive for your family. And,
Sure.
and everybody's rising to everybody's rising to the next level in terms of just like your overall vibe, if you will. Right. So like your shirt, right? Good vibes hit targets.
Yep.
If you're happy, you know, that's contagious. That spreads,
Very.
you know what I mean? Like, and everybody knows that. And so the pursuit of happiness, that's exactly what we're all here for.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We're all here for it. And not everybody has the means to do that. But
No.
I tell you what, man, if you have the means to do it, even if it's scary, you need to do it.
It was scary.
Hell yeah, it's scary. I mean, it's still scary sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
It is.
It's like, because if you're not churning, if you're not chasing, if you're not grinding, you're not making money.
Right.
You know, you're not getting the next job. You're not getting that next trip, you know, and so it's a balance for sure. And so like, you know, on this side, building Modern Day Sniper it was all consuming, right? It was absolutely all consuming. Some things took a back seat, and you know, that medicine was not always there. And it definitely stung at those times, but it was definitely what I needed to do to make things what they are now.
Oh, for sure.
And put that in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a great journey for sure.
Yeah, man.
It's just starting.
Yeah.
Like
It's just
said,
starting.
We're both your business is getting big. My photography, like I said, the last 3 years, and now I'm booked all the way to 27, on trips all over
so
the world.
freaking cool, man.
So
That's so cool. So what you do is not only do you guide trips, but you build in photo packages with your trips.
correct.
Yeah. So talk to me about that. Tell me about how you kind of came to the idea of doing that and where that all came from.
Sure. So yeah, just picking up that camera made a huge difference. Having a guy kill a big sheep or a big elk or bear or whatever, and then supplying him, giving him 25 photos of his adventure. It just flourished from there. Guys are like, oh, this is amazing. I like the photos just as much as the animal, you know? And then it started getting so big to where I kind of quit guiding. It was just photography only. And now I'm working with guys that hunt all over the world. They would go on all these trips and their family didn't know really what they're doing. And so they hire a person like me, adventure photographer, that captures their whole entire adventure from start to finish. I create this big album they take home and show their family, and now their family understands, can see from start to finish what they do. And a lot of these guys I work with too, I mean, they tease me all the time because, being the backpacker and be the hunter and successful in that field, and then grabbing a camera, they're like, Luke, you're not a photographer. You're just a badass hunting guide and got the camera on the side.
Yeah.
And so, we love the photos, but you also spot more animals than we do. You literally keep us going mentally and physically when it's hard, the weather's bad, or like this last hunt, I was on Tiburon and 13 days backpacking in the Mexico desert. It's very tough.
That's harsh.
And, the guy was getting pretty mentally down after day 10, and you just have to keep him going, And sometimes, I might throw on their rifle on my back or grab their water or whatever it takes to just keep them going, just like we would do in the hunting field.
Absolutely.
But I'm just packing the camera instead, so.
On top of everything else.
Yeah,
That's another,
I
don't know, probably 10 pounds worth of gear.
Oh, 10, 15.
At
easy,
least. Yeah. It's not, I mean,
Yeah.
two camera bodies, 2 lenses, a bunch of batteries, probably a bunch of solar charging
Solars.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you start doing the logistics of it and you're like, okay, we got that when we started to get, we got this sweet, it was called M-SIDS, and it was a camera. It was a Canon camera, and we got a Panasonic Toughbook computer. And I mean, it was tough. Like you could literally beat somebody to death with it. It was like built like a brick. But that camera, then we got like a suite of lenses with it, and it was for reconnaissance and surveillance. So we would take that with us, and you could connect the camera via a cable to the Toughbook, and then you'd edit your photos, like you'd take pictures of the target site and whatever, and then you'd annotate them. This is the compass heading, this is the marginal information, this is this, and then you'd put it, then you'd encrypt it, and then you'd plug the Panasonic or the Toughbook into a radio, and then you'd send that via an encrypted radio transmission, and then the surveillance and reconnaissance center would grab it, and that was, I mean, shit, that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
And so that was just another thing that we had to carry on top of everything else.
Right.
And so I remember when I first got it, I was just like, man, I don't want to fucking deal with this. Like this is another 15 pounds worth of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is crazy. But then, as technology develops and it's, now we don't have cables and things like that. It's all, super high-end technology. Everything's encrypted and way more. I mean, drones an example, but the development of that is, learning how to carry all that stuff and learning how to like, oh, I got to use it like right now, and knowing how to be prepared with it, and all the missed opportunities that eventually lead to lessons learned, and realize, hey, I'm not missing that opportunity.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of these guys too. I mean, they're spending tons of money on these hunts. I mean, some of these sheep hunts.
You've been telling me this shit, and it is mind blowing.
Yeah. These guys,
it's mind blowing.
You're spending 100,000, to 175,000 on some of these big sheep hunts.
You were telling me about millions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
at the last auction.
Yeah.
1.2 million for sheep tag.
I think the last sheep show I went to is in like 2000. It was January of 16. And the biggest bid that went down for a desert sheep was 385 grand. And everybody at that, I mean, everybody was just like, whoa,
what the heck?
Whoa. And now it's like a million plus.
Oh yeah, they're breaking records every year.
That's
unreal.
That's crazy.
So these guys are spending all this money, and that's kind of, you're spending this money and you go on the hunt, and what do you remember? Whatever you remember, and maybe 1 or 2, 3, 10 cell phone pics, And so it's like, man, you get all these cool memories, all these badass hunts you're going on, and you just have a few cell phone pics.
Yep.
So, that's kind of where I come in. Let me come along and capture your hunt, and you'll have hundreds of pics, a book, and everything to show of it. And
yeah, that's super cool, man.
It's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, and it's an easy, it's an easy sell to someone who's like, all right, well, yeah, this is a once in a lifetime experience.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah. And so why not?
Get some cool photos.
Get some cool photos. Yeah. That's badass, man. I want to extend a personal thanks to you for being a listener and a follower of the Modern Day Sniper podcast. We appreciate every single one of you guys. And without you, we would not be where we're at today. If you guys enjoy the show, if you like the show, cruise on over to any of the podcast outlets that you're listening to this show on and leave us a comment. We read every single one of them. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Your input is going to help us develop better content, the stuff that you want to listen to. Again, we thank you very much. We appreciate you guys for listening and following. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And without further ado, let's get back to the show. So, we just got back from another really epic adventure.
Oh man.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So many things. So many things. But let's back up to the first time that you and I went to Africa together in just 2016.
Yep.
Yeah, it was March of 16.
Yep.
And we visited Robin Hurt's place, and we hunted with Daniel. And it was my second introduction to Africa, but my first introduction to Namibia, and really truly like spending 7-8 days hunting. Whereas the first time I went for like an afternoon. So it was just like a tiny little bit. That was incredible. I think mainly because the experience, and number two, like what we were there to do, which was cull critters.
Right.
And it was you, me, and Len, whom Len, I need to get on the podcast again too. Had him on like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Long time ago. And, so we went to Namibia and we did a cull trip, and that was a crazy ass experience.
Oh, man.
Just the country itself.
Yeah.
Just the country itself.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And ironically, we flew over it.
Yeah. That was awesome.
That was so cool to be able to see it all from the air and go, wow, man, I recognize that.
Yeah.
I recognize that even all of 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So culling animals, the one thing that I think people have a lot of misconceptions on Africa about is that it's all high fence and that it's all like caged and
Right.
basically the critters are on a leash and you just walk up and shoot them. And I don't think that that could be any farther from the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Based upon what you and I have experienced.
Yep.
Now I'm sure that there are places like that.
Oh, sure.
But not what you and I have experienced.
Yeah.
So Robin's place was more like rocky and more mountainous in the sense, and even like Fricky's place was mountainous, but had way more vegetation.
Very lush. Yeah.
Very lush. Yeah. So we were there to hunt, to call red hartebeest, oryx, and zebra, Hartsman zebra, which was, I think, the majority of their population, their large majority of the population. And so one of the cool things that I learned about Africa was how they manage their game populations. And I really think that people here in the United States could learn some shit from it.
Yeah.
Big time.
The game over there is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they have way more predators than we have.
Way more.
And they're
more poaching.
Poaching and way more savage predators.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, it doesn't make any sense why
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's so crazy every time you go there.
Potentially it's the amount of hunters, right? But then again, if you start, I would love to see those numbers, right? If you could say like, okay, like Robin's place, how many hunters do they have a season come through? And Skulk's place, how many hunters a season do they come through? And how many animals are taken? Like we took 46 between the three of us in a span of 7 days.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of critters, right? And so, but then it's just all rejuvenative. Or did I say that right? Maybe. Sorry. I don't know if that's a word, but it's all like, it all contributes to the whole ecosystem. And they manage it so well because they're so selective. I mean, how many times do we look at animals and they're just like, nah, not quite old enough.
Yep.
Not quite old enough.
I knew exactly.
Nobody does that here.
No.
Every freaking 3-point is going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, if it shows itself and it's within range, it's going to die.
Yeah. Those PHs, what they were saying, they only take 2 months off. It was December, January.
Yep. And that's a job.
Rest of the time they are hunting.
Yeah, they're hunting, and it's a job, and it's not a willy-nilly job. It's a major commitment to their life. It's a minimum 1-year apprenticeship.
Right.
And then what are there, 5 levels?
Yep.
You got 5 levels. You got plains game all the way on up to dangerous game. And there are specific points of performance that need to be evaluated for each level that you go. And you're evaluated by your peers. And it's really well done.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
That's why they're called professional hunters.
Professional hunters.
I mean,
yeah.
Because they are.
And they know their shit.
They do.
They know their shit really, really well. And they're very, very proficient. And they're dedicated. They're really, really dedicated.
Yeah, they love it.
They really do love it because there's only one way that you're going to get on that truck and do that every single day with the myriad of different people and personalities and that you're going to see. You only do it because you really love it. Yeah, for sure.
And those guys do.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's really cool to see. So Namibia, and so Namibia was one of those things that Len got us into,
right?
Because he was jonesing to get back to Africa in every way possible that he can. Len's an Africa junkie. I think he's been like 6 times. So he was trying to figure out a way to get to Africa. And truth be told, it was a massive boondoggle, massively successul boondoggle, I might add.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest one to date that I will put a stamp on and say, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was pretty freaking cool. So how did you come up with this one? And so like, tell people where we went and how did you come up with this trip?
So I always go down to Sheep Show every year and kind of just promote myself, walk around and meet people and hand out business cards, tell them what I do, just give them my spiel about my photography and try to make a few deals. And so Chalk was one of them. He has this big, beautiful booth and, I kind of just walked up to him and, met him, and Dean was there at the time with him and just kind of gave my spiel about photography. And, he didn't have any. He had one big photo in his booth, and that was it. He didn't have any books. He didn't have anything about the lodging. He had just one little brochure. And so I was like, hey man, what do you think about bringing a photographer over and let me capture some content for you to provide you with these books and stuff like that? And, at first, he kind of laughed about it, and he's like, yeah, okay, maybe. And so then the next day he hit me up again and said, yeah, let's do this. And so it was like a week after I got home from the show, he actually called me and said, man, I really like to do this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I asked him, I was like, do you want to provide hunters for me to create content, or do you want me to try to bring over some friends and use those guys as content? He's like, no, you do your thing and see what you can do. And that's when I got a good group of guys together. And yeah, he just wanted us to come over and shoot a bunch of stuff and create tons of content. As many photos as you could get. Now I have a bunch of books. He wants to do a new backdrop for the booth.
Nice.
So, and then the videos, we're actually capture tons of video. So he's going to have so much content he's not going to know what to do with now.
Yeah.
That's how it came about, just going up to him and introducing him to introducing myself. And, that's all it took.
Yeah. Skulk is a super cool guy. He seems to be a very cautious individual from that perspective. But he's also a businessman, right? So talking to him, he's got a bunch of stuff going on, but he's the way that those guys hosted was phenomenal.
Oh man,
it was badass.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
I mean, the food. So we're hunting as soon as we show up. We got some lunch, and as soon as we show up, we're going hunting for the afternoon, and just first class all around. Absolutely first class all around.
Yeah, great
for sure.
Great people. Made it tons of fun.
Yep, lots of fun. Everybody's very talkative. Everybody knows how to interact with customers and make it a really, really great experience. So
I always love it. Like first time we went, the same as this time we went, how people don't know how you can shoot.
Yeah.
So you got Dan, kind of hindering us away from the 6.5s, and then you got these guys like, oh, you better be able to shoot like this, and you show them what you can do, and they're finally like, okay, yeah, these guys can shoot.
Let's let them maybe do their thing a little bit. If they say they're good, let's believe them. Yeah. So David and Dean, I was with the two of them, and David was chasing after an oryx, and the oryx presented itself at 420 yards. And, Dave's just like, yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. And Dean's like, okay, man. Okay, man. And so, yeah, Dave put the bullet exactly where he wanted to. And then like an hour and a half later, he did it again at like 430 yards. And so like being able to do that and
that was off sticks, right?
Yeah, it was off the sticks. Yeah. So, and those sticks were not the same sticks that we shot off of with Daniel.
Right.
Remember, Daniel had actually a tripod,
yeah.
Whereas these sticks were they're European shooting sticks, and they operate off of kind of like a V. There's a front and rear support, but they all center on a point at the bottom, which I didn't really think was super stable, but it's workable. And as soon as I took the hunting rifle out and at this last class, and I have a set of polecats. And I was like, I'm just going to go take the polecats out, and I'm going to shoot the hunting rifle with the class and just see. And I'm not going to use a tripod. I'm just going to use the polecats. And I can only get up to the kneeling position with them because they don't get that tall. But it's definitely not as stable as a tripod, but with practice and understanding of like what you need to do to get stable, it's totally an option. And I think one of the biggest things that I took away from this trip was just the minimalistic aspect of trying to be as minimalistic as possible. Like you don't need all the shit.
No,
you don't need all the shit. And even on the military sniper side of the house, like now it's like big giant tripods, and on the competition shooting side of the house, it's big giant tripods and bags and such. And it's like, I get that to a certain degree because we want to increase our hit percentage under a wide variety of circumstances in a short amount of time. I get that. But even in Africa, man, like those engagements, I'd say the average engagement that we had on an animal at Skulk's place in the flatland, inside 100 yards, probably
Yeah.
average.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some longer shots. Like
Yeah,
you
blessed
killed one at 300 yards.
Yeah.
David shot a couple critters at 4.
Right.
Your kudu was 6.
Right.
Now I would consider Wolfie's place kind of the same as
Sure.
Skulk's in some regards.
Baboon 580.
580 on the baboon.
Yeah.
But like the stalking in the thick stuff,
Tight.
usually it's inside 100 yards by the time. And you're only shooting at something really small,
Yep.
trying to put the bullet through a small gap. And you know that it could literally move in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you have to be ready to go. You
Right.
got to be ready to shoot.
Yeah. We've talked about it before, how different it is and how good it is to go to Africa and experience these things for your shooting capabilities.
100%.
Because here at home, you're lucky, if you're a successful hunter, if you get to pull the trigger maybe 5 times a year, maybe
On a big game animal.
Yeah. I mean, if you got to hunt your ass off.
You got to hunt your ass off. You got to be pulling tags in multiple states. And
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's a lot.
that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So to have the experience where you only get to pull the trigger that many times an entire year, you're not learning a lot.
No.
You got to practice and do your stuff at home and stuff like that. So to be able to go to Africa and get all those quick plus crazy positions, it's all so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your pH.
Yep.
You got a lot of stuff going on, and you get to do that 30, 40, 50, 60 times
All the
in
time.
10 days.
Yeah. Or you're being a part of it with someone else.
Yeah. Or
right?
you're being a part of it. So
Mhm.
you're learning so much about your shooting and your hunting
Tons.
capabilities in a short period of time that
Yeah.
you'd take you years to learn in the States.
Yeah.
I mean,
100, yeah, absolutely. Even if you're, a baller and you're hunting all over the place and
Yeah.
buying tags everywhere,
Right.
and even then, I don't even think you could do it.
no.
It's, well, one of the conditions, as an example, the blue wildebeest I shot at Fricky's place was 430 yards, and I needed another 1/4 mil worth of wind that I didn't see, and at 430 yards to need a 1/2 mil worth of wind, that's wind that I couldn't see it,
Right.
and I knew that there was some right to left. I just didn't know how much it was because there was a gap in between, a valley in between me and the animal, but we're in that thick shit. And in that thick stuff, you can't see anything.
Right.
And there's no wind indicators, right? Cause all of that vegetation is like really stiff and it's like massive sagebrush.
Right.
Right. And so wind doesn't really move it very much. And there's not a whole lot of opportunity to check mirage because there's the animal. Do you have a shot? Yep, I got the shot. So now it's like knowing what your cartridge can do, knowing what your bullet can do. What is your wind window for that? Right. So for me at 400 yards at that altitude, I need 0.4 mils for every 7 miles an hour. So I needed a full 1/2 mil and I only held a 1/4. And in my brain, I was like, if I hold a 1/4, I know that if there's more wind, it's going to drift me here, but that's still going to be a killing shot.
Still a hit.
Yeah, it's still a hit. And if there's no wind, still a hit. It might be a little farther back than I want, but it's still in there. Right. And it's learning that and getting that over and over and over again.
Yep.
And like shooting baboons with bad ranges.
Right.
That's a tiny ass target.
Tiny.
Really small target.
Yep.
And it's deep, 500-600 yards away. And the first couple shots we took, we were on that long road and we got bad ranges.
Yep.
And at that distance with those cartridges, a bad range, even 10 yards is going to cause a miss. You're going to hit low or high. And so just learning all those things in those situations is massively beneficial. And it's another testament. It's like, hey, you need to know your gear. You need to know your equipment.
Right.
You need to know what's going on. So that way you can make those decisions and go, yeah, no, I can't, no, it's too much or no, I don't have enough time. And the animal's going to run away anyways. Right.
It was crazy how, of course in the Kalahari on the desert is all flat. You could see the wind pretty easy, but you got in those mountains.
Yeah.
You could not tell. Even Dave, he had a couple issues with the wind, but at us, there was no wind at us.
Yep.
And it was so hard to be able to
and then
tell.
you send the bullet and then it hits so far downwind and you're going,
what the?
Well, it's out there. I just can't see it. Yeah. And that's the benefit, I think, of, there's a new series. I'm sure you heard of it. The NRL Hunter series.
Mm-hmm.
Super, super beneficial for stuff like that, because you're going to all these different environments. You're going to all these different locations. You're seeing all this different terrain and all these different wind conditions, and it's all under a time limit, and you have to find the targets yourself, and you got to range them yourself.
That's perfect.
Yeah. It's badass. And it's like, it's, if there was only one kind of competition that I would go do all of the time, it would be that. Some of these local matches and stuff, it's too convenient not to go shoot them.
Sure.
But, cause it's so close and it's fun. But, that's really where the sauce is. If you want to really become proficient with your rifle, it's those, cause it's all like, what is your process? What is your system?
Right.
Like once you identify, there's you first got to find it. Then you got to get a range to it. Then I got to build a position to shoot it. Oh, I can't shoot from the prone. I got to be like, what else can I shoot from?
Yeah.
Do I go to my tripod, or can I find a rock, or, whatever the situation is? And those events really train you to do that.
Right.
It helps you train to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You got to get you out to one.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I want to do one. But the difference between like our mountain hunting and Africa, where you get all that time to do that.
Yeah.
So the animal's 600-700 yards. Okay, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like Africa. Okay, there's the animal there. I got 1
Shoot 'em
second.
now.
Shoot it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your jackals.
The jackal. Yeah. That was
Super fast.
And again, that also like gave me inspiration to like kind of get away from the mountain rifles and to pick up a more handy, almost like lever action-esque rifle for those close-up shots where it's like, potentially your life depends on putting that bullet where it needs to go, depending on the situation. So, you a little scary, a little nerve wracking. So yeah, as soon as I came home, I set up the rifles and I went out and did some shooting like that. And I was like, man, I miss this. I just went out and no bipod, just a sling, laying in the prone, just a sling, slinging up. And, I was like, man, I miss this part of shooting because, it takes more effort, number one, but the reward of putting the bullet where you want it is, I think, greater.
Yeah.
Big time.
Sure.
So it's like, that was literally all you. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like sling supported shooting, hitting a 12-inch plate consistently at 500 yards, it's just like cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and it's something to get back to and just kind of mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Cause sometimes this can get a little stagnant.
Sure.
A little after a while. You're just kind of like, I want to mix it up. So
yeah.
what was, so from this trip, man, what was the biggest experience, or the coolest experience that you think you had individually?
The whole experience is awesome. I mean, just being able to do Africa clear across the world with good friends, it's not something you get to do every day.
Yeah.
So not just the hunting side, but just spending quality time around the fire, dinners, breakfasts, watching you guys shoot, your experiences, getting to capture some footage of it. I mean, something just like 16 we'll always remember, and we had other buddies with us this time that never been.
Yeah.
So that makes it even better when you get a newbie that's never been there. I mean, Ken's eyes are like this all the time.
And he's a new hunter.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy experience for a new hunter. Yeah.
So he absolutely loved it. So, I mean, it's just a cool experience, but, I was trying to think. Probably my wildebeest, black wildebeest.
Oh, that was cool.
Just fun.
Yep. That was fun.
Stalk in on him and lay prone in the grass and shoot him.
Wallop him.
Yeah. 225. Dean's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was cool.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, like you said, we shot so many critters and there were so many good shots.
Yeah.
Everybody was shooting awesome.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see all of it. But spending time with you guys, and that's always the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the kudu adventure was up there.
Yeah, that was chaotic. Huh?
That was chaotic, but at the same time, it was like, we spent 2 full days
Yeah.
looking for one.
Right.
And when when you were finally closing the deal, that was the full Africa experience.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Those are big ass critters too.
Yeah, that was a big freaking cooter.
That was a big bull, man.
Man, his neck was huge.
I could see why Dean was just like, you need to shoot him like right now.
Right now, yeah. Freaking out.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man.
Oh, yeah.
Such diversity too. I think like being able to have the that plane ride with Skulk and Tom, I think was like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, what a way to end it.
Just a beautiful way to end it and go, man, we going from, Skulk's place in the Bushveld and that kind of country to Fricky's place with the mountains and the lushness and wild giraffes. Like,
yeah.
What are you kidding me? I didn't even see giraffes when I went to the Kruger National Park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't even see him there. I saw him at Fricky's place, which was so freaking cool because the mountains and that place is amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And then to be able to get in the plane and just go see we didn't really get to see much of the Skeleton Coast, which was kind of a bummer, but being able to fly over the desert, fly over Robin's place and see that from the air.
Yeah.
And then just to hang out in Swapukmund and just go hang out at the beach and have lunch. Right. I mean, that's the beauty of having an airplane.
Right.
That was one of those things. I was like, I need to finagle an airplane. I need to finagle an airplane. It's time. And buy a small one and just kind of work up to it, just to have that freedom to be able to go do that.
Oh, Shock loves to fly too. Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
why would, when you do have that at your fingertips, why would you drive?
Yeah.
If you can fly?
Yeah, that was amazing.
No, we're going to fly.
Great opportunity.
Yeah. And then the service of getting, we're gonna run a little late, so we're just gonna land you guys at the international airport.
Right.
And that was
walk right in.
Freaking hysterical, walking right in. The dude at the counters at the immigration, he's just like watching these dudes walk through.
Yeah.
Are you guys supposed to come through this line, or what's
going on here?
He just like walks right through. I'm like, hey man, I'm not an Namibian passport holder. I'm just an American. I'm just doing what I'm told.
Yeah.
That was great. A blast, man. So, what's next, dude? What do you got coming up?
Let's see. Mid-July, back to BC.
Yep.
So, be up there scouting for stones. Probably be up there at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Probably a good 3 weeks before the hunt actually starts.
Got it.
So get in there, and we're going to check out some new areas this year, fly some new spots. And so hopefully get some new country I've never even been in before.
That's awesome. How many clients?
So I'm only going to be with one. And then from there, I go up to another outfit, north, a little further north in BC. And then I'll be there for 2 hunts.
Okay.
All the way till September 6th.
Okay.
So it'd be just back-to-back stones, but the last 2 are full photography.
Okay.
So I'm just capturing
You're
adventures.
just capturing.
Yeah,
cool.
Just capturing their adventure on the last 2. So yeah, after the stones, October, I'll be up in Alberta.
Okay.
Capturing 3 Archie mule deer hunts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That should be pretty cool.
Yeah. So no Washington general season again for Luke.
No, it's right dead center of the
man, dude. This is tough. Like now I'm at a point now where I can like get back to doing that. I'm like, man, we got to catch up. We got to hunt together.
We'll have to go a couple weeks before and do the fall bear.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, absolutely.
Like
that's for sure.
And then December or into November back down to Tiburon. This will be my first time capturing archery desert sheep.
Man, that's going to be pretty epic.
So backpack archery desert
that'll be pretty epic.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. So how can people find you if they're looking to have done what it is that you do?
I get contacted mostly Instagram. That's the biggest thing. I get messages Instagram. I'm always at Sheep Show. I always run into tons of guys and talk a lot at Sheep Show every year. And then I have a website, but it's mainly just for basic photography.
Okay.
It's for prints and because I do a lot of family photography and stuff like that.
Yep.
Website's more geared towards that.
Yeah.
So Instagram is the best way.
But people could go to your, obviously Instagram, you're showcasing your photography there, but people could go to your website and see your photography and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Right on.
For sure.
So I want to have you back on to talk about some more like technical stuff and learning stuff, and talk about like some of the mistakes that you see hunters making, and some of the consistent things that you see as a professional guide looking at things, and just give people a different take. Because like I was telling you before the show, before we kicked this recording off, like the first part of the Modern Day Sniper podcast was largely focused on just competitive shooting and shooting itself. And I don't necessarily, I want to talk about that stuff, but I would much rather talk about a little bit more depth to then just talking consistently about the basic stuff, but more from also a hunting perspective. Because really, if I'm not teaching students how to shoot a rifle, the skills that I'm going to use, my skills, and it's going to be hunting, right? I don't carry a rifle in defense of the nation, the state, or the town, or whatever, the city. I carry a rifle to fulfill my own personal medicinal needs, to be in the mountains and to be connected with nature. And so there's a lot of people that are gravitating towards that. Like the skills progression clinic that I just had in town, 90% of those people were there because they're hunters, not because they're competitive shooters. They're competitive shooters because they want to improve their skills as hunters, right? From the marksmanship perspective. And so there's more hunters out there than, and especially the dudes that are, you know, that they have quality equipment. They want to be able to learn how to use it, and they want to be able to make really responsible and ethical shots. Right. So, and then in mountainous country, mountainous terrain, you know, that matters. Yeah. That matters, because if your field skills aren't there to have knowledge of what to do if something doesn't go the way that you want it to go, man, that bullet needs to go where it needs to go. Yeah. And that animal needs to be right there.
And if it's one of your like once in a lifetime hunts, and you fail on your shot, it's all your fault. You know? I mean, yeah,
absolutely. It's your fault. It's your fault for not being connected with your gear. It's not, you know, taking it for granted. And, you know, I see a lot of folks that will talk about things like losing zeros on their scopes. Oh, my scope lost zero. My scope lost zero. And I'm like, hey, how many rounds of ammunition did you fire this year? How many rounds of ammunition did you fire this year? Maybe 200. I don't think it was your scope, homie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really, like, I'm a professional in this world of shooting, and 200 rounds a year ain't enough. Like, you need to be more proficient than that, and you need to shoot your rifle, and you need to learn it. You need to know it, and you need to put it into the conditions that you're going to expect to be in when you're in those scenarios,
and make changes if needed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. You were telling me a story about a guy who didn't want to re-zero his scope.
Yeah, horse wreck.
After a horse wreck, right? He didn't want to re-zero his scope.
Nope.
That's insane.
That's insane.
That's madness.
Especially when you have somebody like me or you there willing to help and know what you're doing. Yeah. It's nothing to be worried about. It's very easy.
It's a mechanical instrument. Yeah. You know, there's one thing, like, there's this kind of, I think I told you, like, there's this thing on this web forum that they want to drop test all these scopes and test them and stuff. And they're like throwing them on the ground, and their complaint or their argument is, well, what about a horse wreck? And I'm like, well, fantastic. We were talking about this, and you were like, oh, I matter of fact, I was on a horse wreck, and I had every opportunity to re-zero my scope, or this particular individual had every opportunity to re-zero their scope. And no matter where you're at, especially if you're shooting with a suppressor, go shoot a rock, right? Like, go shoot a rock. Yep. It's not going to disturb anything. You're not going to blow animals out of the basin. No. Like, it's just go do that. And for your own sanity, for your own, because if you don't show up to the plate with confidence in your equipment, you're screwed. You're screwed. You're totally screwed. Yep. And that goes for hunting. That goes for competition. That goes for anything with a rifle, anything with anything. Like, if you golfed, right? Right. You're a really good golfer. Yep. If you step up to the tee without confidence,
you're going to shank it.
You're going to shank it. Yeah. And so it's like, you got to have confidence in your stuff. So Yeah, man, I definitely want to have you back on, and we'll talk about the more technical stuff, and just continue to have conversations about hunting and life and all the other things that go along with it.
Yeah, we got so many stories that you can't tell it in
Yeah, you
one
can't tell it in
podcast.
one
That's for sure.
podcast at all.
We have a lot of sucky adventures that where we were hurting pretty bad a few times.
We just do lessons learned.
There you go.
Just lessons learned. Hey, we made really not so great decisions here, and we paid that price, and this is, the lessons learned from it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
awesome, man. Well, this was a ton of fun, dude. Thank you for coming out, and we'll do this again in the future. So
Sounds great.
you're just right down the road. So now that we got this all set up and ready to go.
Perfect.
Yeah, man. Well,
Enjoyed
thanks,
it.
Luke. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Badass.
Thanks, man.